Hey everybody, I'm back again with the same clothes as the previous video because we're recording everything all at once, but I decided to break them in two so it doesn't get too boring. Today we're gonna see the Lehman Brothers crisis. Is that good for you guys? That's when Bitcoin started and also when the whole capitalist market was upside down. I was there, I was in New York, and today I'm gonna bring a little bit that for you guys. Having said that, I am very happy to have you guys subscribing to my channel. It's a pleasure to be here and to bring a little bit more of who is Juliana Passos and what exactly is she doing. A lot of people met me in conferences all over the world. We did a lot of hackathons and a lot of stuff. So as I'm developing more and more the crypto space, I would like to bring a little bit of my previous background and who exactly am I. So today in this chapter is my life in the Bahamas. I really wish I was in the Bahamas right now, not in gray São Paulo with a lot of pollution, a lot of noise. The Bahamas was a wonderful time of my life. And people, when I interviewed to go there, people thought that I wouldn't make more than 3-4 months. They said, you're gonna give up, you're coming from Wall Street, you're coming from the financial world, this is nothing, there's not even sidewalks over here. But it was one of the best experiences, and pretty much I consider myself part Bahamian, given the love that I do have and also the patriotic feeling that I do have for that country. So if you guys are from the Bahamas, big lots of hugs and kisses to you guys. You live in a wonderful place, and not only that, but it's a wonderful group of people, individuals that are always very happy with life. So, and let's not forget the beauty of its beaches, the beauty of its land. It's a wonderful landscape as well. So you might have this very stressful job, but then in the end of the day, if you go to the beach or if you go on a boat day, it changes everything. So this contact with nature is something I loved from there. Well, so how did I got to the Bahamas? Nobody really dreams when they're young kids, oh, one day I want to work in the Bahamas. Like probably a lot of people just dream about becoming an astronaut one day, and we never do actually follow that dream. But I guess nobody really dreams of one day ending up in the Bahamas. And there are many expats that are there, and I guess nobody really considered living over there. But once you do go, if you do adapt, it's a beautiful place. So I need to go back one step. How did I got there? Because back in 2008, as Lehman Brothers collapsed, I was still working in this derivatives exchange, back not in Wall Street, but I was in Broadway. So it was exactly in front of the bull. So 11 Broadway is the address. You can check over there. That was the premises of Apple International. It was a company that was doing commodities and derivatives all over the world. So we also traded metals in London. We also traded indices. I remember doing a lot of DAX, a lot of S&P, mini S&P futures and all that. And out of the blue, the whole credit crisis happened as I was working there. And if you guys ever think about how bad that was, we always hear that exchanges can be called at any moment because of credit crashes. And I remember Chicago calling us and asking for the whole exchange to close all its position. Otherwise, it would close them themselves. So in a matter of hours, the house that I was working for, they went bankrupt. And it was very unfortunate future. And I remember working that time, it was, you wouldn't understand what is a 1,000-point movement in the S&P and things like that. And as it happened, Banco Pactual was part of UBS in the Bahamas. So they had a group of Brazilians dealing in the wealth management division. So UBS, that Swiss bank, they had an entity in the Bahamas, and they had a Brazilian desk over there. So they were expanding and they were trading so much that they needed to hire more people. So I went to the Bahamas for the first time in 2008, and then I interviewed with them to be the 6th trader of the desk. What happens is that as I was in the flight, I remember I was in the JetBlue flight where they have the screens. That day, the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange would already not open. They already decided that their systems were getting so much congestions of orders, and the market was so negative, so many sell orders coming up, that they decided to open already with a halt of 30 minutes. And after that, so sometimes the exchanges on the centralized system, they do close, and they need a break so their trading systems can understand what's happening, because the speed of sending an order is actually faster than people can understand what's going on in the world. So the crisis was a matter of being fast and taking fast decisions, but the news that are coming up in the newspapers were not as quick as the damage of the market. So I remember going to the Bahamas for the first time to interview with them. I loved what I saw over there, but the guys kind of put the new hires on hold. So I kept the Bahamas in mind, and about a year later, they called me while I was in New York, and they said, Juliana, do you remember me? My name is Kevin Price, good to see you. Yeah, and then they invited me to join UBS. At this time, Banco Pactual was not part of UBS anymore. They were exiting all their group. Their owner bought all that team. So I was invited to kind of hold on with the Brazilian clients. Not only the Brazilian clients, I say Brazilian clients, but UBS had clients all over the world. So they had clients from Latin America, they had clients from Europe, and still at that time, some banks in the Bahamas could have accounts from American clients. What we saw was a very heavy regulation. FATCA came in, and all the banks of the Bahamas and all the banks of the world, not just the Bahamas, they were forced to close American accounts. So if you had a beneficial owner or someone that had a green card or passed through the United States or somehow paid taxes in the United States, you had to close the account, send the person away, and direct them back to the United States. So that was one of the consequences of the subprime crisis. And I saw a bank losing 3.4 billion in a matter of months. So it's a no discussion. If you have to deal with an American client, you have to close. They have to be served from the United States jurisdiction. It's a big important thing as well, as we see the crypto regulation coming up. So I do understand what's going on, why the SEC and the CFTC and the IRS are taking very good, careful approaches with the blockchain technology, because they don't want American investors to be relying on information coming from other countries or other investment advisors. Let's say you have to be an accredited US financial advisor to give financial advice. So if you have a YouTube channel and start talking about crypto and investments, it's not that simple. You are tied to the United States and their regulation. So if you are an American person and you're watching my video, I hope that you understand that the whole background of why are those things happening. They're not there for no reason. The subprime crisis and the Lehman Brothers collapse was a big important thing. And so since I joined the Bahamas, that was in the end of 2009, I know that other countries are not allowed to deal with US customers. So I know this is probably going to generate a lot of comments and suggestions and all that, and feel free, this is a discussion channel, so place your comments over here. But in the Bahamas, not only you have to comply with the US, but you also have to comply with all the other countries of the world. It's not that it's just because you're in another country that you don't need to follow what's happening in other jurisdictions. So the same happened right after to Europe. The Bahamas couldn't handle any more European accounts. So we also had to close a bunch of clients from France, from Germany, from Greece, and there were many countries that we couldn't serve them anymore. And there was a full disclosure of what you could say or not say to specific clients. So I had to go, I guess there is a cross-border issue. There was a test that we had to go to what you can say and what you cannot say, what you can do and what you cannot do, how you can invest and cannot invest, to clients of Colombia, UK, Brazil, US. I think I did like 5 or 6 tests of what is a US person, because you really need to understand who they are and that you're not supposed to do investments for them. So more and more the work of the banker today is very limited in terms of what they can advise. A lot of people are accredited investors and they know what they want to do with their money. They know how they want to diversify their risk, in which sectors, in which economies, in which equities or bonds, and how they want to deal with their portfolios. So less and less is the financial advisor being able to actually do their jobs, which is to give advice, because most countries are putting very strict regulations into what you can say, because whatever you say to a person, you're liable to your word. So it's very important, because you could call, let's say, when you see the videos like films like The Wolf of Wall Street, or guys just say, hey, it's time to buy, let's do it, the stock is going to appreciate a lot. You don't know the future. How can you guarantee the future? So you have to bring a lot of analytical skills and a lot of tools so your client decides what they want. It's not you saying, let's do this, but you give them tools and you give them information, and based on that information, they can take financial decisions. So in New York, for example, you're doing one single product. So when you're part of a desk, you're just doing that one asset to that specific clientele, or you're doing a bunch of assets together, but to very specific clientele. When I joined the Bahamas, the trading desk is a key part of a bank. So it's pretty much the heart that pumps. You cannot have no system or no Wi-Fi, for example. Everything needs to be super sharp. All the telephone lines need to be available. All your email boxes need to be up and running. So you cannot have any kind of IT problems. So that's how I got into technology as well, because by working on a desk, you need to be very familiar with Bloomberg, with Excel, with clients, but also what's happening on the backbone. Why wasn't my order going to New York Stock Exchange? What happened? What blocked my order? Because orders have routers. Sometimes you send to a broker that sends to another broker, and that delays of time, that latency of time also costs a lot. So in the Bahamas, I learned a lot more about technology. Not only that, but I think every single banker almost deserves an LLM from legal by participating into so many discussions with the compliance department and the legal department. There's a lot of rules and a lot of regulation in the banking sector. So there's a lot of discussions, what can be done, what cannot be done. Some orders, it's not just a matter of clients saying, hey, buy this, and you have to send the order to credit risk first and to compliance first. So an order that would take a matter of seconds or even less than seconds, when you are in a wealth management of another country, it takes hours because they need approvals. So that's why the beauty of blockchain, because everything can automatically be checked or rechecked via smart contracts. If the client comes from IP of country X, then they can do this. If not, then they have to prove that they are that person. Then you have to have your passport or proof of address. So there's a lot of things and a lot of processes in the banks that they can be very much automatic. But in the real world, they need to go through people. So stop you guys already saying that all the banks are evil, that the banks are disgusting, that they charge a lot of rates, because banks are also made of people. There's a lot of employers, a lot of people in the back offices, a lot of people in the compliance departments, a lot of people in the legal departments, a lot of bankers, a lot of traders. So there's a lot of of human beings that need to make the whole institution going, and they need to be rewarded, they need to be paid, so their salaries are worth something. So in the Bahamas, I could have that very good idea of how a whole bank works, because even though we were subject to, we were a branch of Switzerland, we were a full booking center, meaning we had autonomy. And once you are in the Bahamas, you don't respond to the regulator in Switzerland, you respond to the Bahamian regulator. And a lot of people just say, oh yeah, but certain countries is just a fiscal paradise. Sorry guys, don't get me wrong, but the Bahamas has a very, very strict central bank and securities exchange, securities commission as well, that is supervising. We have a lot and very heavy compliance departments over there analyzing each transaction or each thing that every client wants to do. So not only it's a complicated process to open a new account, it takes days. It's not just getting your cell phone and making it happen. It takes a lot of legal documents to approve, and it takes a lot of checks. Never forget that banks are based on risk departments as well. You need to control your cash flow. So to control your cash flow, you need to forecast of what are clients going to be doing in the future. Are they going to be using all their money? Are they going to be investing all their money? Are they going to be making payments tomorrow? So you need to forecast all that. That's why bankers ask a lot of questions for their clients, because the compliance department and the risk department, they both need to know. So yeah, imagine if all the clients would be making payments, let's say to France tomorrow. Everybody would need to buy euros tomorrow and send all the money to France. So you can close a bank in a matter of hours. If all the clients of the bank just decide to send a letter and say, send all my money to France, then out of the blue you need to have some sort of, hey, are we going to exist tomorrow? So because on theory this is possible, that's why bankers need to know, are you willing to close your account? Are you willing to do transactions? Are you willing to pay people? What is your company all about? So you have, let's say, I'm gonna give an example of a jewelry store or a watch vendor. So if the person is negotiating watches all the time, you need to have proof that they deal with Rolexes and all kinds of things, because that's usually considered money laundering activities. Watches, they take a lot of, they cost a lot of money, so they're very important instruments of exchanging value from one place to another. The same happens with diamonds, the same happens with art. So we can go through a chapter of art later. I did also a degree in London of art business at Sotheby's later on in my life. It was a big pleasure, but art is also considered a money laundering tool. I'm not saying that all artists or that all galleries and the whole art world is a scam. Don't get me wrong, it's not. There is a lot of wonderful things that you can buy and a lot of arts that you can collect, and you can become a very serious collector. But for the banks, in the eyes of the banks, if you deal with art, you have to deal with regulatory issues as well, and you have to prove to the bank that you are a gallery, that you are an art dealer, that you collect art, or that you bought art. So it's very important that more and more the list of activities that are considered money laundering are increasing. More and more professions are considered money laundering, and more countries are considering aiding terrorism and drug cartels and things like that. So the list is increasing. It is a very delicate issue to deal with that, because people are probably going to bombard me after that. But it is important to know that also the banks are responsible for exchanging a lot of value for the anti-money laundering cartels and things like that. Also, it is very important to understand that the banks, the financial institutions, are the ones that did a lot of money laundering in the past. You can also see that many institutions are being fined for doing money laundering schemes. And I suggest that you check the banks, Google that, financial institutions money laundering, and you're going to see how much how much fees they were fined to pay for the regulators for doing money laundering transactions and supporting what the world considers illegal. So people like to say that the cryptocurrency main sort of idea is to provide facilitators to do money laundering all over the world, and I completely disagree. I think this technology is there to empower countries that are not supported by the financial system. The financial system is evolving to support very, very few people and very, very few sectors of the economy. So if you come from country X or country Y, you're not allowed to join the current financial system, so you're automatically excluded, and then you're going to be not able to finance your operations. You're going to slowly go to poverty. So it is a delicate thing. I like to bring both of the sides of the story to you guys. Not again, not an advocate of terrorism. I'm not an advocate of guns. I'm not an advocate of drugs. I think regulation is there to be enforced, but you cannot just generalize and put everybody from a single country in the same bucket as the criminals of that country. It's not because you do have corrupt regulators and legislators in Venezuela that every Venezuelan citizen is an evil person and does not deserve to have a bank account. So that's a little bit. It was supposed to be about Bahamas and my beauty life over there, but there was a lot of stress and a lot of discussions and a lot of learning, internationally speaking, while I was there working for a bank. So as a trading desk, I was implementing a lot of credit controls, a lot of reports, a lot of information needs to be available for management to take decisions. So the CEO, the board of directors, the ones that do have the money of the bank, they need to know how to allocate. And you also need to provide a lot of the information of what's going on in the trading desk of each bank to the regulators. So having said that, it is important that the Central Bank of the Bahamas knows if we're doing more equities than bonds, if we're dealing with more clients from country A or country B. So this information is not public. This information is never supposed to be public because people deserve their privacy. And I am very happy to say that the Bahamas has very strict laws with data privacy. Today, less and less are clients dealing on a private bank account basis. I can say that Switzerland was once a heaven of holding banking secrecy, but more and more they do have to open their bank records to the regulators all over the world. So OECD, Brazilian government, for example, when they're trying to fight corruption, they have to go to the regulators of the country, and the regulator of the country has to go and interfere in the bank and say, hey, give me all the accounts of Brazilian people. Or if you have that person in your bank, let me know everything that this person do. Because if they're dealing with corruption, you need to know exactly where are they sending the money. Resources of countries that are being stolen from their populations. So it is important to understand as well the role of the compliance department. Not every person is a bad guy or a bad girl, so there's a lot of millennials that need to understand why the banks are so evil. They need to do a lot of things that the regulator asks them to do, and the regulators are doing their jobs. They're trying to fight corruption. So that's it for today. I appreciate again that you are sticking to understand my background and my financial background. We're coming back to crypto again very, very soon. So just that you know my previous life. And thanks for watching. Please don't forget, tell a friend or two to click the subscribe button. I know you're already a subscriber, so if you could tell more people, I really appreciate. Okay, for those that I don't see in a long time, my big hug and kisses. I miss you guys so much. Get in touch, stay connected. I have now a blog, it's called itsencrypted.com, so you're welcome to send messages over there as well and read a little bit more of what am I developing. Thank you guys, see you, ciao.